Emo Shanghua heard, and nodded without expression. His eyes fell on Yan Xinchuan in front of him. Yan Xinchuan put on a thick cloak on his body, with a gentle and elegant smile on his lips. I know what you mean, but your body is just better, so don't send more, lest you get tired and get sick. Yan Beiqing was talking to Yan Moli. When he heard Yan Xinchuan's words, his face suddenly turned black. I'll take care of my princess. I won't bother my brother. Emo Shanghua turns Mao to sweep him one eye inexplicably, but light hook lip cape, don't know what to say. Yan Xinchuan's smile was slightly stiff on his lips, and the bottom of his eyes was a little astringent, but he was pressed down by Sheng Sheng. Brother Jiu Huang is serious. I just want to see Huang's sister-in-law has just recovered from a serious illness. She's afraid that she'll get sick again, and the tired emperor's brother is just scared. The word, Huang saw, seems to have been circling in his mouth for thousands of times, and there is a sense of ambiguity between the lines. Yan Emoli looked at this scene, deep across a little bit of subtle sarcasm, and in an instant he was covered up by the eyes. Just about to open his mouth to interrupt, his eyes' light is to fall on the flower face of Mo. Can't help but pause a few breath. I saw it, but I haven't seen it for a few days. I don't know when all the scars on my face have disappeared. The exposed cheek skin is as delicate and white as cream, and the facial features are extremely exquisite. In addition, a pair of indifferent phoenix eyes, which seem to contain thousands of stars, are expressionless and beautiful. Yan Emoli's heart suddenly sank, and the ink color at the bottom of his eyes scattered. For a long time, just can suppress heart shock, as if nothing happened to the mouth. 9 Emperor younger brother, sister-in-law don't have to send, let's say goodbye. Yan Beiqing didn't want to send more, so he immediately agreed with him with a smile, and then he didn't send any more. He watched the huge team go home in front of him. Yan Xinchuan's words before he left were not forgotten. After they left for a few days, he sent Qin Lin to take back what he said. Qin Lin holds a wooden box with a half-insignificant appearance, and puts it on the table in front of Mo Shanghua. He wipes the sweat on his face and uses sign language. Princess, after the slave explained his intention to the shopkeeper took out the box and said that you must open it yourself. By the way, he also sent a letter to the slave. You should check it yourself. While speaking, he took out a piece of letter paper from his sleeve and handed it to Mo Shanghua. Mo Shanghua glanced at the letter, only to find that there was nothing written on the outer cover, only a blank. I'm afraid it was also to prevent the letter from falling into other people's hands. Yan Xinchuan was really careful. Mo Shanghua sighs in her heart, and tears off the cover, and takes out the letter paper. The contents of the letter are very different from his own style. There are only a few words in the letter. The general meaning is that everything in the box is dowry given to the stranger, which is at her disposal. In addition, as long as she is well, he has nothing to ask for. Mo Shanghua puts down the letter paper, takes out the key in the envelope and opens the box. There are many things in it. Besides tens of thousands of taels of banknotes, there is also a jade ruby, which is the size of a small arm and has excellent quality. You can see that it is very valuable. Yan Xinchuan had little contact with the outside world since he was a child. He thought these things were his wealth for several years, but he gave them to her without stint. It's a dowry. In fact, it's not for fear that she would be made difficult in King Yu's mansion. It's for her to be a servant and dredge the relationship. Mo Shanghua takes out the emerald ruby and looks at it. Her lips are full of vermilion, and her heart is complex. She knows Yan Xinchuan's intention to Lu Qianqian, and all of his considerate and gentle, but from the original love of Lu Qianqian. But the original Lu Qianqian died long ago. She is not that Lu Qianqian, he is good to her, she is not qualified to return his love. The flowers on the street coagulate emerald ruby, and the gratitude and guilt in my heart burst out together, especially the guilt, which is almost too thick to melt. How could she meet such a sincere person in this alien world? Although it was because of the original owner, she was still very happy. Mo Shanghua took what Yan Xinchuan left behind, which spread to Yan Beiqing for the first time. His deep, bottomless eyes narrowed slightly, and his voice was a little imperceptible. How did she react then? I only saw that the princess took the jade and Rui looked at it for a long time. As for what the princess thought in her heart, I really couldn't understand her mind. Yen North City Mao bottom a bit gloomy fast flash. Even if spin is covered by boundless dark, look suddenly become mysterious. Go down. Yes. Waiting for dark way to go down. Yen North City Mao color just some tiny light flash for a while. The right hand can't help but put in his left atrium. Here it's as dull as a huge stone. Mo Shanghua asked Qin Lin to receive the things in the warehouse, but she collected the letter herself. After that, she gathered all her thoughts and straightened her face. Qin Lin, go and take back the account books of all the expenses in the mansion and all the stewards in the 4 cities below. I'll check them myself. After a pause, she suddenly raised her hand and stopped Qin Lin, who was about to go down. Let them come and see him off in person. Yuzhou is divided into 4 cities. There are dozens of shops under it, each of which is scattered. Now she not only cooperates with Yan Beicheng, but also gives her the right of housekeeper. Naturally, she will not be polite, even if she starts to take over. Yes. Qin Lin answered in a low voice and hurried on. The hall of King Yu's mansion. Each of the 4 cities is in charge of its own affairs. They all sit on the second seat under the first seat with different looks. Zhang He picked up the tea on the table, but he couldn't drink it anyway. He picked it up and put it down again. He always felt a little restless. Ladies and gentlemen, the princess suddenly called us to hand in the account book in person. What do you think? Jiang Shi leaned against the back of his chair and looked at Zhang He with disdain. I said, Zhang He, what are you afraid of? She is a young girl. Can she do anything to us? Yes. The housekeeper sitting next to Jiang Shi also agreed with him with disdain. When Zhang was in vain, she still wanted to be polite to us. She just took over. What can she do? The rest of the steward didn't speak, but his expression showed the same meaning. Zhang He frowned tightly and disagreed. But as you know, the Lord dotes on her now. Housekeeper Zhang's qualifications are no less than ours. It's not because she was angry that she was withdrawn. It's a coward. Jiang Shi sneered and his eyes were full of sarcasm. How long can the Lord spoil an ugly and salt-free woman? What's more, can the Lord take us all away? Zhang He was still worried. At this time, listening to Jiang Shi's words, he lowered his heart slightly, nodded and didn't speak. The flower on the street gathered the breath, stood at the door, put the words of several managers into the ear one by one, and suddenly passed a touch of frozen color at the bottom of her eyes, until the voice inside the house was a little louder. She gathered the color of her eyes and stepped in. She sat down directly from the top of her head, and glanced at the steward of the lower position indifferently. Among the 4 stewards, only Zhang He got up first and saluted her. As for the others, they got up slowly and bowed their hands perfunctorily. After reporting their posts, they lost the following. Especially Jiang Shi. The disdain at the bottom of his eyes even did not cover up. Mo Shanghua sneered in her heart, but there was no waves on her face, and she didn't see the slightest sense of annoyance. Thank you for waiting for a long time. Please sit down. Several people sat down one after another. Mo Shanghua saw a few people sit down, and then he spoke leisurely. You should all know the purpose of this invitation. You are very busy on weekdays, so I won't delay you. So please hand in your accounts for nearly 2 months first. Her voice is flat and her eyes are calm. For a moment, people can't see what she thinks at all. The uncollected Jiang Shi turned his lips and said nothing. He just raised his hand and waved to the boy behind him. The boy ordered a little, took out an account book, and bowed himself to present the account book to Mo Shanghua. The rest of the managers followed suit. Mo Shanghua looked at several books on the table. Her delicate jaw gently pointed. She picked up one of them and looked at it carefully. Seeing this, Qinya stepped forward 2 steps and said, now that the princess has taken over the affairs of the mansion, she can't afford to steal them. All these things need to be seen by herself. Please wait for a moment. When the princess has finished reading, she will have orders. Although the flower is reasonable, it is not invisible to give them a downfall. How many people do their own accounts? The heart is a few, but think of a little girl, and they can be a veteran. I think she can't see anything else. Therefore, I put up with it a little bit and didn't say anything. Mo Shanghua looks like she's looking down at the accounts, but in fact she's one-hearted. The four housekeepers' expressions and actions are all used by him, but she's still in her eyes. As time went by, there was still a small part of the account book left on the side of Mo Shanghua, but Jiang Shi was impatient and put down his teacup. Princess, it's late now. There are many things to deal with in my shop. Seeing this, several other managers murmured in a low voice, if you can't understand it, don't pretend. Let people wait here. Zhang He was the only one, drinking the tea in the cup with his head down. The flower on the street twists the white fingertips of the paper and looks up at Jiang Shi. Can Zhang's affairs still go beyond the palace? The tone was not polite. Jiang Shi's face turned black and he snorted coldly. It's okay if it's a shop, but I have 5 or 6 shops under my hand. If things in the shop can't be dealt with in time. In the middle of the conversation, Mo Shanghua suddenly turned her voice, picked up an account book and threw it on the table. It's just that before Jiang Guanshi left, he had better explain to the princess, what's the matter with the account book? In that case, Jiang can leave, but... In the middle of the conversation, Mo Shanghua suddenly turned her voice, picked up an account book and threw it on the table. It's just that before Jiang Guanshi left, he had better explain to the princess, what's the matter with the account book? Her voice was calm, and her face was not in the slightest anger. In every word and deed, she was not angry. Jiang Shi was stunned. After a long time, he realized that he was shocked by a young girl. He held back his anger and said, what does the princess mean? Mo Shanghua's lips lightly stirred up a light color of ridicule, and slowly and clearly enunciated. This account book is full of loopholes, which is obviously a false account. Mr. Jiang, you are in charge of so many shops. You can see the trust of the Lord in you. But the Lord trusts you so much. How can you do this to repay the Lord? Jiang Shi's eyes flashed. In addition, he was only a little shocked. After so many years, he just wanted to fool the young man of Mo Shanghua. However, he didn't expect that he was exposed by her in public. He turned black and refused to admit. I, Jiang Shi, have been working for so many years, and I have never made any mistakes. Princess, you have just come into contact with this trip for the first time. And you have such a red mouth and white teeth slander. It's really 3 fires for a new official to take office. The implication is that Mo Shanghua doesn't know anything at all, but he just wants to use them to fight. With this remark, Li Guanshi, who was next to him, immediately blackened his face and gave a sneer. If the princess doesn't understand, it's better to stay in the inner courtyard of the deep house and teach her husband and son, so as not to cause any trouble for the prince. I didn't expect that Li Guanshi was so brave and eager to get ahead for Jiang Guanshi. It's really a good disposition. Mo Shanghua's cold front-like eyes fell coldly on Li Guanshi. Speaking of it, Li Guanshi deserves to make friends with Jiang Guanshi, and even the style of accounting is the same. After a pause, she stared at the iron-green face of Manager Li, and said with no smile. The same mistakes and omissions, false accounts. There's Wang in charge. You'd better give an account to the princess. In a few words, Mo Shanghua criticized 3 of the 4 people for their mistakes and omissions. Only Zhang He, who was left, looked at her in surprise. All the others, without exception, were livid. Jiang Shi didn't expect that Mo Shanghua would not give face. He was so angry that he bit his teeth and said, I've heard that Wang Feixing has a sharp mouth. Even the black one can speak white. Now I see it. I really admire it. However, I still want to advise the princess that if she really doesn't understand the housekeeper's business, it's better not to get used to it. It's better to return the right to the prince early. With that, he quietly turned his eyes and winked at Li Guanshi. Steward Li exchanged glances with Jiang Shi, and then quickly stood up. I think it's better to invite the prince to make the decision immediately, so that the princess can go back to the inner courtyard of the deep house and enjoy happiness. Why suffer here? Another steward Wang also came out and echoed, women shouldn't have been involved in the affairs of the outer court. Steward Jiang and Steward Li are both right. Please come to the court as soon as possible. A few people, you say a word to me. It's true that Shengsheng has turned black and white upside down. as if all the faults are caused by the ignorance of strangers. The flower water eyes on the street are frozen, and the whole body seems to have a layer of extremely cold air. The delicate fingers, white as jade, hold the cuffs tightly and purse the lip without making a sound. Just at this time, a leisurely sound of footsteps came from the door, and the chill of Mo Shanghua suddenly subsided. The sound of footsteps, she remembered, was from Yan Beicheng. Sure enough, as soon as her thoughts fell, Yan Beicheng strode in. His eyes looked around the hall, and saw that all the stewards' faces were red and their necks were thick. The flowers on the street were pretty and cold, and his clear eyes were suddenly cold. But his face was frowned and his voice was slightly deep. I heard the noise all the way here. What are you doing with your red faces and thick necks? Don't you dare to quarrel with Princess Ai while I'm not here? Although they didn't agree with Yanbei City in their heart, they had to bow down. For a moment no one answered. Seeing that there was no one at the beginning, Jiang Shisuo stood up and said, "The Lord knows clearly that the princess can't understand the accounts and mistakenly thinks that we have made false accounts, but we can't help arguing. Lord, it can be seen that the princess doesn't understand this trip at all. Please take it back and let the princess go back to her inner house." Seeing this, the other directors also gathered together and knelt down, headed by Jiang Shi. Yan Beicheng's eyebrows were even tighter, and his eyes were stained with displeasure. You say that if the princess doesn't understand, the princess doesn't understand? Although I don't understand this, I can't believe your words. After a pause, he stroked his chin with one hand and thought bitterly for a while. Then he said, "In this case, come and ask 2 accountants to come and let them have a good look at these accounts. Is there anything wrong?" The color of surprise flitted through the flower eyes on the street. The ice in the water eyes faded away, looking up at Yan Beicheng's side face. The scarlet birthmark on Yan Beicheng's face is on the right. Mo Shanghua is standing on his left at this time. The facial features of his side face are extraordinarily three-dimensional and deep in his eyes. The peach blossom eyes are as bright and beautiful as stars. The flower on the street was a little stunned, but her heartbeat missed half a beat somehow. But she was in a trance and didn't notice it at all. A few words suddenly appeared in her heart. Child Ryu. It turns out that she didn't find that, except for the quick birthmark, Yan Beicheng was so beautiful. But those in charge of the affairs changed their faces. They wanted to stop them, but before they had time to speak, Yan Beicheng asked 2 accounting men to come. Mo Shanghua also looked back at Jiang Shi and said, "These 2 gentlemen are famous in Yuzhou City. Jiang's management and other management should be careful." Jiang Shimo immediately across a flustered color. Wanted to refute, opened his mouth, but there is no way to refute. When the 2 accountants looked at the account books together, the time was shortened greatly. After a while they read the account books one by one, and went forward to reply to Yan Beicheng. "Lord Hui, there are mistakes and omissions in 3 of the account books, among which..." He picked out all the mistakes and omissions in the account book one by one, and then came to a conclusion after a detailed discussion. "These are all obvious. They are indeed false accounts." Jiang Shi's face suddenly panicked, and he almost lost his composure. The faces of Li Guanshi and Wang Guanshi all changed in unison, and they were extremely ugly. Only Zhang He stood aside, frowning, and secretly congratulating himself. "I know that you bastards want to bully Ifei." Yan Beicheng angrily glared at several stewards. When he looked at the flowers on the street, his face suddenly softened. "Princess, you can handle it at will. Such indulgence, let a few people see, are secretly frightened, but also remorseful." Mo Shanghua gently nodded her chin, and looked coldly at Jiang Shi and others. "You just took over because you cheated me. You're also a woman. If you really follow the rules of the government, it's not enough to die 100 times. Several people's faces suddenly became stiff. They felt that their emotions were tense. But I didn't expect that. The voice of Mo Shanghua turned abruptly, and her voice was calm and indifferent. "But considering that you have worked hard in the government for many years, I will punish you for half a year's salary. In addition, before tomorrow evening, you must count and send the accounts of Rua's jurisdiction within half a year, as well as the recent accounts, to make up for your mistakes." Princess Xia. Several people are all relieved, raise a hand to wipe the thin sweat on the forehead. And after the rest of their lives, a few people's hearts will grow resentment for the flowers on the street, as well as the shame and anger of being slapped face to face. Mo Shanghua did not go to see them. Eyes fell on Zhang He, voice slightly slow. Zhang Guanshi, your accounts do well. But he attracted resentment. Mo Shanghua just said so, and then there was no following. However, she did not expect that the jealousy of these big men was no less than that of women. On the surface, the matter was over. As soon as he was in charge, he retreated. In a flash, there were only 2 people in the house. Yan Beiqing's timely relief. Mo Shanghua's heart is more or less grateful, just about to say thanks. Yan Beiqing has stood up, turned his eyes toward her, said with a smile. Don't be too grateful to me. I just look at their nostrils in the sky. Mo Shanghua has long been used to Yan Beiqing's duplicity. She can't help but chuckle. I know, but anyway, thank you. If I don't have you, I'm afraid I'll have a lot more trouble. What are you afraid of? Yan Beiqing fished Mo Shanghua into his arms, took her shoulder, raised his lips and laughed. You are the princess of our king. No matter how lawless those old guys are, they will never dare to do anything to you. After all, our king is still here, he said with a smile. And his words were inevitably childish. If in the past Mo Shanghua may not pay attention to it, but now, she doesn't know what's wrong, and she's a little soft. As if aware of their own abnormalities, Mo Shanghua quickly pushed Yan Beiqing away, stepped back a few steps to the side, and pulled away from him. Speak and speak, don't touch. Yan Beiqing looked at his empty arm, frowned discontentedly. Do you forget your identity? After a pause, he didn't wait for Mo Shanghua to answer, so he yelled and asked himself. You are the princess of my king. What's the matter with my little hand? Childish. Mo Shanghua resisted the twitch of the corner of his mouth, turned and walked back, not wanting to say more to him. She just walked 2 steps. Yan Beiqing suddenly came up from behind, pulled her white wrist and pulled her back to her arms, drooping eyes close to her cheek. The distance between the 2 men was so close that their breath was lingering together. Yan Beiqing's eyes were dark and his voice was low and dumb. You said I was naive, eh? The flower water Mao on the Mo deeply looks into the Yen North City that seemed to take the eye of the magic sort. Zhenglong for a long time, just can be able to come back to God. The ear root quietly climbed up a layer of faint red. Yen North City, you don't make trouble. Then he raised his hand to push Yan Beiqing's chest, and wanted to withdraw from his arms. I don't think so. Yan Beiqing curled his mouth, and was very rogue. He tightened the slender waist of the flower in the street, and his eyes were a bit evil and frivolous. The princess made me angry, shouldn't she coax me? His eye color besides frivolous, where has the half-cent side look? Mo Shanghua was a little embarrassed and annoyed. He pushed hard but failed to open it. He hammered his chest with a hand hammer and threatened. I don't care if you are angry, but now I have to tell you that if you are not letting go, I will be impolite. Yan Beiqing seems to think of the last time he was beaten by Mo Shanghua. His brows wrinkled and his hands loosened. Mo Shanghua took the opportunity to push Yan Beiqing in the past, and whispered in a low voice, rogue. Say turn round then don't want to entangle with Yen North City much. Just walk to the door. Behind him came Yan Beiqing's low magnetic voice again. Hello. The flowers in the street wrinkled subconsciously. Before they could turn around, Yan Beiqing continued. If you can't solve those things in the future, just come to me. Anyway, I'm idle all day. I don't mind having some fun. The flower water eye on the Mo shoe startles a few minutes subtle waves, but for a moment, it converges down, and goes on walking out. Yan Beiqing looks at the figure of the flowers on the street, and his deep eyes are full of unpredictable colors. Several stewardess gathered together in the city. Stewardly didn't look very good. After a long silence he said, I really have some skills, even the prince dotes on him. Yes. Chief Steward Wang sighed a long time and looked sad. Jiang Steward, you have something to say. What should we do? Jiang Shi sat on one side with gloomy eyes, silent for a long time, then said with a sneer, What are you afraid of? He's just a new official now. After all, she doesn't dare to do anything with us. Zhang He glanced at Jiang Shi's face, pondered for a moment, and then said, "You may as well listen to me, or don't compete with that little girl. It's not good for everyone." Jiang Shi's face suddenly sank, coldly across him. "Zhang He, you're afraid of that girl movie. Catch up to flatter me. I'm not afraid. If you want to change sides, you'd better go out now." Zhang He choked, turned his eyes to look at Steward Li and Steward Zhang, and saw that everyone was hostile to him. With a sigh, he got up and went out in silence. Jiang Shi's several people looked at each other. Until Zhang He went out, they gathered together and lowered their voice. They didn't know what they were discussing. The next day, Jiang Shi stood on the street with his hands arched, his head slightly down, and his attitude was countless times better than that of yesterday. He quietly looked up at the flowers on the street, then lowered his head again, looking embarrassed. "Princess, all the accounts under my jurisdiction are here, just the accounts in Wujuan have never been collected. Why can't I get it back?" The delicate willow eyebrows depicted by the flowers on the street frowned slightly, and the eyes seemed to be puzzled. "The princess doesn't know that Wujuan is far away. It takes 4 days to get there from Yuzhou City, and it can't be recovered at any time." Jiang Shi lowered his head and opened his mouth full of sorrow. Li Guanshi also attached to the side. "But it's not only that. That place is the whole grain-producing area of Yuzhou. The people in Yuzhou depend on it for their rations. For a long time, people there have developed the character of putting their eyes above the top. They are not willing to release grain easily even when they open a warehouse. What's more, they are afraid to release grain." Seeing this, housekeeper Wang quickly agreed with him and said that there were so many problems there that the accounts could not be collected. On the street, the bottom of the flower's eyes crossed with a touch of charming color, but his face was frowned, a pair of melancholy, 6 gods have no master appearance. Then according to you in charge of things, how to deal with it? In his heart, Jiang Shi sneered, but on his face he pretended to bow his head and meditate. After a while he said, "In my opinion, I'm afraid you have to go to Wujuan to have a look in person to find a solution." Li Guanshi echoed, "I also think that only the princess herself can solve the problem." The same is true of the rest. The flower on the street didn't speak. She gathered her eyes. Under the long and thick eyelashes like a PU fan, her eyes were full of cool colors. She had expected the thoughts of these housekeepers, and it was so. If she goes this time, she will be able to get things done. And these old guys will certainly have no reason to say more. Will slowly begin to submit to her. After all, if these old people don't really surrender, she won't be in charge of the family. Thinking about this, Mo Shanghua suddenly raised his head and said, "Since you all say that, it must be the best way. So I'll go there myself." Jiang Shi's lips and eyes were full of success. The princess is really reasonable. She is willing to put the overall situation first for the sake of the palace. Jiang is too much in charge. It's just my job. Mo flower eyes color indifferent, eyes no smile. "I have to go back to prepare. You step down." Seeing this, Jiang Shi and others did not stay any longer, so they all got up and went back. Seeing that all the people were gone, Mo Shanghua called Qin Lin over and said in a low voice, "Qin Lin, go and check the situation of Wujuan as soon as possible. I want to know if it's like what they said." Qin Lin followed Mo Shanghua for such a long time. Knowing his character, he didn't ask much. He just nodded and went down. Mo Shanghua just got up and said, "Qinya, you go back with me to prepare. You can go directly in 2 days." Finish saying, just lift a step to walk toward the inner room. Qinya rushed forward to catch up with Mo Shanghua and walk side by side to see her mouth shape. "Princess, my brother," she has gone to inquire. "Why don't you wait for my brother to come back and make things clear and think about it?" Mo Shanghua's pace did not stop, but slowed down, turned to look at Qinya. "I have promised them, no matter what the result of Qin Lin's inquiry is, I have to go. I let Qin Lin go, just want to find out the situation in Wujuan." Qinya nodded thoughtfully, frowned lightly, and said with some worry, "But princess, I always feel that there seems to be something strange in this matter. Even if it's weird, I have to go." Mo Shanghua stops. Mao Guang is firm, incomparable. Qinya, you cannot go this time. Qinya was about to shake her head like a rattledrum. I'm going, princess. You can't leave me behind. Mo Shanghua did not feel surprised, nor did she say more. She only nodded and said, if so, it's up to you. As soon as her voice fell, Yanbei City, which was supposed to go out for an outing with Nanha, suddenly came out of nowhere and came up to her. I heard that you are going to Wujuan? The color of surprise in the flower eyes on the street flashed away. But it was a moment before peace returned. Yes, we will start in 2 days, but the specific time has not been set yet. Qinya's eyes, nose and heart, silently covered her mouth and laughed. She was busy and quietly retreated. The relationship between the prince and the princess has become more and more intimate recently. It's very good. Yan Beiqing's sword eyebrows wrinkled, and his eyes were deep. After a long time he said, I'll go with you. This time Mo Shanghua was really surprised. He thought Yan Beiqing didn't know how powerful he was, so he said, My lord, this trip to Wujuan is not as simple as you think. You'd better not go with him. Yan Beiqing frowned, as if he really didn't know the relationship between them. He was a little confused. Wujuan is also the boundary of Yuzhou, and my king is the vassal here. What's not easy to come across? Mo Shanghua felt a little empty in her heart for no reason. After a while, she pressed down the inexplicable emotion and turned around. Although you are the king of Yuzhou, you can't do everything easily as you are. Anyway, I'd better not interfere in this matter. Although she guessed that Yan Beiqing's identity was the cloaker and knew the cloaker's strength, at this time, she subconsciously didn't want to take Yan Beiqing with her, so she explained the truth. But didn't expect, Yan North City also don't know is thought of what, Shu of Hook Lips a smile, I seem to bloom bright star China. Mo Shanghua cold-cut water pupil immediately suffused with a thick color of doubt. What are you laughing at? Of course, I laugh at your stupidity. Yan Beiqing glanced down at her, sat down and said calmly, You know my king is also the vassal of this side anyway. Besides my king, no one can match my identity. What can happen? The flower on the street is a little stunned, which is not agree with, but Lu Mei thinks about it for a long time. In her eyes, she shows a bit of a sudden color. What Yan Beiqing said is really reasonable. She actually forgot that, on the face of it, Yan Beiqing is also King Yu. His identity is there. If he forces pressure, how dare others say more words? Even if those people are hard to deal with, they will not be disobedient. Even so, but Mo Shanghua still tightened her brows and looked at Yan Beiqing. Do you really want to go? Of course. Yan Beiqing's eyes were clear and deep, but his face was smiling. I heard that the food in Wujuan is good. It's much better than Yuzhou City, and the environment is much better than other places. I want to visit by the way, but don't think about playing by myself. Mo Shanghua naturally knows that he can't really go to eat, drink and have fun, but he doesn't punctuate it and says indifferently, just don't get into trouble. While he was talking, he turned around and went to the inner room. He really didn't want to hear Yan Beiqing's nonsense that he only knew how to eat, drink and play. Well, what's your attitude? If you are like this, I will not go. Yan Beiqing immediately yelled behind her. Whatever you want. Mo Shanghua has been used to his appearance, and he spits out 2 words without looking back. You. Yan Beiqing seemed to be in a hurry and couldn't speak for a long time. Yanbei City at this time, although a pair of angry look, but to the day of departure, or do not face to follow. Mo Shanghua is just like he doesn't exist, sitting in the carriage, thinking about the news Qin Lin brought back. What Jiang Shi said before was not false. The difference is that what Qin Lin inquired about was more serious than what Jiang Shi said. Almost all of Yuzhou is a desert with lush slopes. The land is extremely poor, so it is impossible to grow large areas of grain. But for some reason, Nao County is the only place with good environment and good soil quality in Yuzhou, which naturally becomes the granary of almost the whole Yuzhou. The most important thing is that the place is under the jurisdiction of Yanbei City on the surface, but actually there are other operators behind it, and it should be quite close to Zhongwan at the beginning. Once upon a time, when Zhongwan was there, they didn't know much about it. Now when they heard that Zhongwan had been sacked, they were deliberately embarrassed. All the rice shops in the city closed down, and they refused to open their warehouses anyway. The land in other places of Yuzhou is poor, and the grain production in other places is not enough to support the people. Now for a long time there must be a lot of people's grievances. In the future, those shops can also raise the price of rice for personal gain. This situation, however, is far more than the fact that the accounts cannot be collected. Qin Lin spent a lot of time to get the news. It is said that many of them were disclosed by Zhang He, but the news came that Mo Shanghua had been on the carriage, and there was no way back. As soon as you enter the Wujuan area, you can see the flowers on the street. It's really like the news that Qin Lin inquired. All the rice shops are closed, and the front door is full of people. All of them have all kinds of pockets in their hands. They keep knocking at the door of the shops, but the shops are closed, and they don't open for half a while. Mo Shanghua noticed that some of these people were already hungry. If they were dragging on, they didn't know how many people would starve to death. In the calm water eyes of the flowers on the street, a few light, almost imperceptible dark colors crossed. They put down the curtain of the carriage and sat down. These people are so lawless that they can even think of such a way as not selling grain. How much longer? She made a sudden voice, but there was no joy or anger in her voice. Back to the princess. We'll be at the post station in about an hour. Qinya's clear voice came from outside the carriage. There's no need to go to the post station, just go to the money house. The flowers on the street spoke in a soft voice without expression. Qianfu is the owner of the largest grain-producing area in Wujuan County. Most of the grain shops in the city are owned by Qianfu. Today's owner is Qian Lin. Of course, this Qianfu has something to do with Wang Fu. The reason why his people can buy so much land is also authorized by Wang Fu. Their part of the benefits will also fall into the hands of Wang Fu. Yes. Qinya's voice is low. Yan Beiqing, however, was sitting on the opposite side of the flower in the street, hanging his eyes and playing with the white jade teacup in his hand. Under his long and thick eyelashes, his eyes were dark and deep, and he couldn't see any emotion. Mo Shanghua turns her eyes inadvertently and sees such a scene. Her eyes are slightly deep. She stares at Yan Beiqing for a long time, but he doesn't touch her. Then she takes back her eyes and closes her eyes. She thought that Yan Beiqing should have been touched by such a thing, but she forgot that she was not only King Yu. But she didn't know that at the moment when she closed her eyes, Yan Beiqing suddenly raised her eyes, where there was half clear in her eyes, only a deep dark silence, which could not be seen in the end, was treacherous and unpredictable. When the carriage arrived at Qian's house, no one came out to greet him. They had to send someone to pass on the message. They had to wait outside. It is reasonable to say that the identities of Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing had already been sent in advance before their arrival, and he should come out to meet them. Now these people are actually a little out of order. Fortunately, Qian Lin did not dare to do too much. He only dared to make people wait for a while, and then he came out to welcome them into the main hall of the mansion. Mo Shanghua quietly looked at the scene of Qian's mansion. It was magnificent, with carved buildings and painted buildings. It was not inferior to that of Lian Wangfu. Qian's mansion is really worthy of being the richest businessman in Wujuan. Yan Beiqing scanned the surrounding scenery, the corners of his mouth swayed, and his eyes seemed discontented. Mo Shanghua thought that he was going to say something, but he was afraid that he would do something wrong. In a hurry, he quietly grasped Yan Beiqing's hand and squeezed it with a little force. Her fingertips are delicate, and her tentacles are cool and smooth. She glides into Yan Beiqing's palm like this, which makes his heart beat for a little while without any reason. In the depth of her pupils, she quickly strokes a little different color. Suddenly, he directly tightened the soft catkin of Mo Shanghua in his palm, and wrapped her whole palm in his big palm. The flower on the street is also slightly stunned. I don't know what I think of. I just feel that my cheeks are a little hot. I'm busy trying to break free. I'm very busy. Yen North City Lip Angle Micro can't check of light hook for a while, but didn't catch up in the fast pace. After walking for a while, they arrived at the main hall and sat down with Qian Lin. Mo Shanghua glanced at Qian Lin and saw that he had a rich face and a pair of small eyes full of shrewd color. He knew in his heart that it was hard to deal with. But she didn't show it, and she didn't bother to tell him about the crooked things. She said directly, "Money is in charge of the business. You should know the purpose of my coming with the princess." It's easy for others to say, but when I went into the city, I saw that the food shops were closed. What's the matter? Qianlin had a deep relationship with the royal family, so he had a false job as a steward. Qianlin, as if he had left early, did not panic. He frowned and looked bitter. "Princess, you just came to Yuzhou. I'm afraid you don't know that the harvest of Liangdi this year is not good. After the shipment into Yuzhou a few days ago, there will be no more surplus grain to sell. That's why you have to close down for the time being." When he came to spend money on the street, he had already explored it. The harvest of Wujuan this year is really bad. It can be seen that Qianlin is really a difficult person to deal with. It's like this. Her watery eyes were slightly deep, and her delicate willow eyebrows were slightly frowned. "What about the surplus grain stored in the past years? Why don't you take it out first to deal with the emergency? Now the people in the city are waiting for it." Qianlin was in a dilemma. He sighed and then said, "To tell you the truth, half of the grain stored in the past years has been infested. The rest, if it's not a last resort, can't be released now." Qianlin was in a dilemma. He sighed and then said, "To tell you the truth, half of the grain stored in the past years has been infested. The rest, if it's not a last resort, can't be released now. It's really an old fox." On the street, the bright eyes of Mercury crossed a cold color and stood up. "It's so serious. Money is in charge of the business. Please lead the way. I want to see for myself whether there are any good ones in the food with moths." Yan Beiqing just sat on one side and didn't interrupt. He just made a very boring appearance, but the light of his eyes fell on the flower quietly, and the dark color at the bottom of his eyes surged. Qianlin didn't expect that he didn't play according to the routine. He was a bit surprised in his eyes and stood up quickly. "Princess, the moisture in the granary is heavy, but it can't be used. Besides, the food eaten by moths is rotten. I've already sent someone to deal with it. You'd better have a good rest." "Oh," Mo Shanghua nodded, but his eyes were still fixed on Qianlin. "If so, this matter will be temporarily stranded. Steward Qian will present the account book in these 2 months. The princess will have a look in person." Referring to the account book, Qianlin's face suddenly sank down, as if he had changed into a person, and his sophistication disappeared. "This account book is very important. I hope the princess can't hand it in. If you were someone else, you would have turned over a long time ago, but you still have a calm face. In that case, let's go back to the question. Money is in charge of the business. The people are starving and the people are in dire straits. No one wants to see it. I hope you can open the warehouse as soon as possible to release grain. As for the conditions, you can open it to the princess. Qianlin has turned over, so she doesn't have to continue to be polite to him. It's about whether she can take charge of the palace in the future, and she has to be very serious." Yen North City at this time also put down the jade pendant in hand. Mao Guang looked at 2 people. Qianlin's face was still so gloomy, and her tone was a little cold. "I'm not afraid to explain it to you. I only talk with housekeeper Zhang about this matter, and no one else can do it. If Wang Fei insists on coming for this matter, she'd better go back earlier." He spoke with a full air, as if he was not afraid of the flower side identity. Zhang Wang. This matter is actually related to Zhang Wan. She thought it was Jiang Shi and others who made it difficult for her, but now she really didn't expect it. It's just that Zhang Wan is from the other side of the imperial city. Since it has something to do with him, then the orderly lines in my heart were suddenly disrupted, and then slowly sorted out completely. The flowers on the street were cold, and their indifferent voice was as cold as the polar ice. "Don't forget that your status now depends on the royal family, not on him." As soon as the voice fell, a slow step suddenly sounded behind a screen. After a while, the housekeeper Zhang Wan came out from behind the screen. He should have been hurt by the stick last time. He was a bit lame when he walked. There was a bit of poison and hatred in his eyes. It's really sad for the princess to say that. I've been in the mansion for so many years, But this Wujuan county has to run 3 or 4 times a year. Now the princess doesn't even remember any of the slaves' hard work. After a pause, Zhang Wan's eyes turned to Yan Beiqing, and his tone became strange again. Isn't this the Lord? You don't know fireworks all the time. Why are you here today? Are you concerned about the safety of the people? The irony is self-evident. There was a dark color in the bottom of Yan Beiqing's eyes, but his face was deliberately black. He bit his lips tightly, as if he was angry, and could not even retort. As soon as Qianlin saw Zhang Wan coming, he immediately began to laugh and hurriedly came to him. His tone was flattering. Housekeeper Zhang, you're here? Zhang Wanwei raised his chin and casually nodded. His eyes fell on Yan Beiqing again. Lord, I think I can see that Qian is only willing to negotiate with the slave. Unfortunately, the slave is no longer in charge of the affairs of the outer court. He can't help but work hard for the princess. As soon as the words came to an end, Qianlin over there frowned again and said, Steward, I don't care what you're talking about. Anyway, we've been talking with each other for so many years. I can't tolerate anyone else. What they said to each other was that they deliberately told Yan Beiqing to listen to him and put pressure on him. They wanted to take the opportunity to take back the power of the housekeeper. The threat between the two words was clearly written out. The flower on the road is calm, and the eyes suddenly freeze. The eyes stare coldly at Zhang Wang, and the bottom of the eyes is thinking about something. What do you mean? But Yan Beiqing's face was blue, and his fists were crunching. He could see that he was very angry, but no one saw that the bottom of his angry eyes was still a calm ice lake. Mo Shanghua glanced at Yan Beiqing, only glanced at him. She felt a little angry in her heart, as if her toy had been slapped in front of her, which made her very angry. Without much thought in her mind, her body made a first-step reaction. She took the first 2 steps and said in a cold voice, Zhang Wan, don't forget that you were demoted because of your repeated mistakes. After a pause, without Zhang Wan's refutation, she began to speak like a needle. Not to mention the others, they just neglect their duty and let the assassin come in, which almost killed the master. The punishment is the crime of beheading. For your hard work for many years, Wang Yi only punished you so lightly. Now you have said such cruel words. It's a shame that Wang Yi treated you so badly. The white-eyed wolf. A series of words fell. Zhang Wanqi's face was livid, and his tongue almost ended. You nonsense, no matter what, it was King Yu who made me sorry first. You all go out. It's not negotiable today. Say then busy hang ahead to order money to come. Let a person please go out. Money pro busy should come down. Recruit 2 people will go to please spend a few people on the street. But did not expect, those 2 people just walked to 2 people in front of Yan North City finger then quietly clip a small silver. He didn't know what skill he had used. The piece of silver hit several of them at the bend of their legs. As the man screamed and fell, the piece of silver didn't fall. Instead it just bounced out and hit the other one at the bend of their legs. Suddenly, they both fell to the ground and cried with pain. Although Mo Shanghua didn't see who did it, she turned her eyes to see Yan Beiqing, who was already angry. She felt inexplicably that it was him, and her lips could not help bending slightly. She came out with a rude smile and walked up to Zhang Wang's body. Her lips were full of smile. She raised her hand and slapped him heavily in the face, then quickly retreated. Zhang Wang, these 2 slaps are not good for you. By the way, I can do it without you. Her delicate jaw is light. A pair of blue water eyes contain the color of self-confidence. In Zhang Wang's angry eyes, the expression does not change the slightest. Turn to pull Yan Beiqing back out. Yan Beiqing looked at the flowers on the street, pulling his sleeve and walking leisurely. There was a soft overflow in the bottom of his eyes, but in a moment it turned into a deep, fast one could hardly catch it. Rumor has always been said, but only one day later, it spread all over the city. Because of the shortage of food in the city, many people blame the problem on King Yu, who offended Qianlin. For a while, people's resentment rose and the pressure of King Yu's house doubled. Mo Shanghua, dressed in casual clothes, quietly chose a small tea shed near the street, ordered tea and sat down. The opposite of the tea house is a rice shop under Qianlin's name, but she doesn't mind at all. Her eyes sweep the door of the rice shop calmly. I saw that the people at the door had given up calling, but they found their own places to wait at the door, hoping that the grain shop would open one day. Among these people, those who are yellow and thin are even worse than those who have seen them 2 days ago. Some people are chatting bitterly. I thought the prince and princess were here to save us, but I didn't expect to make things worse. It's better not to come. Yes, they have offended Master Qian. Let's not really starve to death in the future. It said that Princess Yu was unlucky and fierce. Now it seems that she is even more vicious, regardless of our lives. There are so many such words. Mo Shanghua put all the rumors into her ears one by one, but she didn't even raise her eyebrows, as if the people were not talking about her. Qinya can't hear others. There are so many people here. She can't stare at others one by one, so she doesn't respond. Just at this time, Qian's grain shop, which had been closed for several days, was suddenly opened from inside. Qianlin came out of it in person, and the people around him immediately got up and surrounded them. Qianlin glanced at them impatiently, turned his mouth and said in a loud voice, "What are you shouting about? I don't want to be told. I don't want to sell food these days. Don't go back soon. Don't stand in my way." The crowd was silent for a while, and then a man came forward dissatisfied. "Master Qian, you are not so unfeeling because of your grudge with that shrew. We are starving to death, so please." As soon as the words came down, the crowd suddenly rang out one after another. Others did not pay attention, but Mo Shanghua has been observing Qianlin, clearly saw Qianlin's eyes from the direction of the person. The heart cannot help but sink. Eyes sharp direct look at Qianlin. He wanted to use the common people and rumors to harm her. As if aware of his eyes, Qianlin's eyes fell on Mo Shanghua with a sneer. "Originally, I was going to open a warehouse to release grain in the near future, but this strange thing is that the princess really doesn't know the reason. I can't disobey her request at all. You see, here she is." I don't know who in the crowd suddenly turned his head and pointed to the flower on the street and roared. People who are full of grievances suddenly fall on the flower on the street. "You're the one who did this to us, witch. It's time for the Lord to stop you. My son is starving to death. You pay me back." I don't know who yelled in the crowd. Then, all the people pretended to be over their heads. One after another, the curse started. Some people even rolled their sleeves and wanted to hit people. These people are hungry red eyes. And now they are deliberately guided to use. Anger will naturally shift to Mo Shanghua. If they really act, the consequences will be unimaginable. Flower water on the street. Eyes across a cluster of cold, looking at the indignant people. The heart also can't help but sink very quickly. Get up and stare at the people with a dignified face. When did Qinya go through such a battle? She was so scared that her face turned pale. As those people became more and more angry, she was staring at Sha Bai's face. You dare to be rude to the princess. Don't you want to live?" She gritted her teeth in spite of her fear. The crowd was quiet for a moment, but the silence didn't last long. Qianlin stood behind the common people and sneered. "The princess is as sharp as the princess. Even if she is wrong and ashamed of others, she can scold others without changing her face." As soon as Qianlin spoke, people immediately agreed with him. However, with one word, people's anger became more and more intense. All kinds of swearing words in his mouth came out, all of which were accusations against her. Qinya's face was as white as snow paper. She bit her lip and was at a loss, but she still refused to go in front of the flower. Mo Shanghua's cold water eyes moved a little. He raised his hand and pressed Qinya's shoulder and said in a low voice, "Go down, I can deal with it." Qinya originally refused, but when her eyes touched the icy eyes of the flowers on the street, she still retreated. Without Qinya's protection, even if she was exposed to the common people, she had no fear in her eyes. Her voice was cold and calm, but she had a sense of not angry and self-respect. "Shut up." She glanced at the crowd with her cold eyes, and people's voices dropped a little. "You believe what Qianlin says. Do you know that you are all led by the nose at this time?" Her voice was now a little harsh, and her face was cold and solemn. She had a kind of self-on momentum, which shocked everyone. Unexpectedly, the crowd was quiet for a short time. The person who had been with Qianlin rushed to the front of the crowd and pointed to Hua in the street. He said angrily, "I've heard that this bitch is the one who can bewitch people and is evil-hearted. Don't listen to him. Kill her quickly and pay for our starving relatives." While talking, he did not know where to find a small stone and smashed it towards the flowers on the street. With this person, more and more people threw all the stones, which filled her eyes like hail. The chill in the water of flowers on the street suddenly gushed out, inch by inch as cold as ice, and it was mixed with some anger. In the electric light and flint room, she kicked up the four-corner wooden table beside her, quickly pulled up a leg of the table with one hand, and whirled the table around in front of her and Qinya. The stones all over the sky were immediately blocked back. Some also rebounded back, to see the money pro gaping. Mo Shanghua did not stop her hand movement, but directly threw the table out. When the table flew to about 1 meter in front of the crowd, it stopped, bang, fell to the ground and fell into pieces. Such thunderous means immediately shocked the people, and no one dared to make mistakes. The look of flowers on the street was a little afraid. The princess is so powerful that she bullies us ordinary people like this. Qianlin is also surprised a few minutes, immediately react to come over. The skin flesh doesn't smile of open mouth. He had thought that if she wanted to be popular with the people, she would be able to accept it. However, he never thought that she would dare to do so. Could it be that she didn't want to be popular? Mo Shanghua's sharp eyes suddenly fell on Qianlin, and his lips gently pulled out a radiance of scorn and sarcasm. These people have already committed the following crimes when they attacked the princess with stones. If I don't resist, the stones really fall on me. Can you accept them for them? In a word, Qianlin was speechless. He couldn't hold back his words, and the flower in the street didn't wait for him to speak. He took a step towards the crowd, and many people suddenly shrunk. Considering that you didn't really hurt me just now, I'll forgive you for not being guilty. Her eyes at this time also coagulate a layer of frost color. A word falls. No one dares to say anything more. But unexpectedly, Qianlin came out again and sneered. Everyone is starving. What's the use of your pardon? Seeing the common people's resentment on their faces, the flowers on the street were not in a panic. After pondering for a while, they said, I have discussed with the Lord about this matter. You don't need to worry about it. After a pause, she said, We have brought some grain in Yuzhou City. In recent days, those who are short of grain and silver can go to the side door of the post station for free. I will let people take care of them here every day, but the grain is limited. Each person can only get 2 fistfuls at most. Only 2 fights. The crowd inevitably began to complain. Qianlin is not polite taunt voice. 2 dough rice? I don't have enough food in my house for the next day. The princess is a beggar. All my words are public words now. I warn you that if you interrupt, I will punish you for obstructing public affairs. The cold eyes of the flower on the street glanced at Qianlin, and his voice was filled with impatience. Qianlin's face turned red, but he couldn't help saying, I'm asking for them. Look at them. Which of them is not enough? Moreover, even if I don't say anything, how long can the princess last? Is it hard for everyone to starve to death as soon as you leave Wujian? It's not a long-term solution at all. Since the princess doesn't understand it, don't come out to make people laugh. Who told you it was a long-term plan? Mo Shanghua resisted the impulse to throw the money out directly, and calmly refuted, 3 days at most. After 3 days, I must have a solution. 2 liters per person is only a temporary measure. How can it not be enough? I've lived most of my life. I didn't expect that the princess would boast like that. It's funny. Qianlin didn't believe it, and his eyes and eyebrows were full of sneer. Mo Shanghua was too lazy to talk with Qianlin, so he threatened directly. I'll say one last time, if you don't interfere with my princess's office, I'll even copy your shop. Let's see how much snow food you have in your shop. I'll see what you can get in 3 days. Qianlin's face suddenly turned black at the speed visible to the naked eye. With a cold hum, he dropped a cruel word and left. See him leave. Emo Shanghua heart anger just a bait down, Mao Guang slightly with a bit solemn look to the crowd. 3 days later, I will give you satisfactory results. Since the beginning of the distribution of grain brought by the palace, the situation in the city and the trend of rumors have gradually changed. But after the food ran out, the people's resentment was stirred up again. This time, not only the flowers in the street, but also Yan Beiqing was labeled as inaction. However, no matter what the outside world said, Emo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing are all stuffy in the post house these days, ignoring the outside world. Qinya looks at Emo Shanghua, who is sitting on the bed and reading medical books, and Yan Beiqing, who is sitting on one side drinking tea and eating snacks. She has become an ant on the hot pot. Princess, today is the 3rd day. The rumors in the city are even worse than before. The number of people who died of starvation has increased a lot. The temporary relief from the palace can't hold up any longer. You should think about something. Emo Shanghua calmly and freely looked up at Qinya from the book. I know. Well, what do you do? Qinya was stunned, full of doubts. Yen North City heart to the behavior of Emo Shanghua clear, but did not point to break, with the opening. I say love imperial concubine, you still fast say, this little girl can all want to cry. Emo Shanghua closed the book, but she shook her head with a smile. You'll know when your brother comes back. Just as he was talking, Qin Lin actually came in, followed by a man with a jade face. He was dressed in a royal blue dress, and in his hand he was worthy of a very romantic folding fan. He swayed it gently from time to time, and the whole person seemed to be very romantic. 1,000 willows? Yan Beiqing raised his eyebrows and glanced at him strangely, but he had some answers in his heart. It's my son. Hua Qianlu walked to Yan Beiqing's side with a smile, closed the fan and gently touched his shoulder. I'm the great hero of this matter. I can tell you have a better attitude towards me. Emo Shanghua suppresses the twitch of the corner of his mouth, looks at Qinya, who is puzzled, and Yan Beiqing, who has the same strange face, and then says, there's so much nonsense. Just tell them what to do first. I made such a great contribution. How can you still be so rude? Flower Thousand Willow immediately wronged flat mouth, but still obediently said things from the beginning. As early as the result of Qin Lin's exploration came out, Emo Shanghua had a plan to deal with it. He just wanted to see what medicine they were selling. In fact, it's very simple. On the day she got the news, she used the thousands of gold promised by Yan Beiqing and the gold and silver that Yan Xinchuan left her. She ordered Qin Lin to take tens of thousands of liang to buy food thousands of miles away. Now she just came back to calculate the time. Tut-tut, I'm really worthy of being my princess. I'm as smart as my king. Yen North City young lips to smile. Mao Guang if have seemed to have no of sweep a flower 1,000 willows one eye. Directly will Emo Shanghua lawn into the bosom. What seems to be a natural act is a direct declaration of sovereignty. Emo Shanghua pushed him away like disgust, moved to the side, vomited 2 words in a soft voice, only to his face gold, really a rogue. Qinya didn't see anything but suddenly understood it. She took Qin Lin to ask him some details about it. Hua Qianlu put their expressions into his eyes one by one, and quickly flashed a strange color in his eyes, but he didn't move much on his face. He laughed and joked. Tut-tut, if you two want to flirt, don't be in front of me. I'm still lonely and can't stand such stimulation. Yen North City special don't listen to. Also once again will Emo Shanghua pulled back, although words is to say to him, Mao Guang but all kinds of dote on looking at Emo Shanghua. If you can't see down can go back to look at grain shop also save disturb us, you say is not princess? Go as you go. Hua Qianliuden jumped and walked out with a fan in her hand. I can't stand it. It seems that I'll find a yellow flower girl to come back soon some other day. Emo Shanghua wanted to scold Yan Beiqing. After listening to his self-talk, the corners of his lips were convulsed, but Yan Beiqing was happy. And at this time, Qianlin also had a little guy running up all the way panting. Report back to the master. No good. Open a new grain shop in the city. There are a lot of rice, and no matter the refined rice or coarse grain, the price is much cheaper than other places. The slave also heard that the shop opened all the 4 cities of Yuzhou overnight. There are more than a dozen. The more he talked about the back, the smaller his voice was. Now the people in the city have swarmed away. We are grain. Will we continue to farm? Several grain merchants sitting beside Qianlin and following him to collect grain for sale suddenly panic and look at Qianlin one after another. Qianlin's shock also flashed away, and then disdain to hook his lips. What are you afraid of? I'm afraid that's the way that the couple of you king and you princess jump over the wall in a hurry. Most of the grain in Yuzhou is here. Where do they get so much grain in a short time? Don't worry, they won't last long. A grain merchant also did not believe it, and his face was full of sarcasm. It's not true. A few days ago, they also took the food relief from the palace with such momentum. No, they stopped fighting about 2 days. What do we have to worry about? That's the reason. Qianlin took a mouthful of tea and said, let's just wait and see them make jokes. The voice fell, and everyone burst into laughter, full of disdain and sarcasm. Let's just wait for them to finish their tossing, and after a period of time, we'll sell all the grain at a high price. We don't have to worry about other people. Qianlin can't help imagining what he will earn in the future. Suddenly his mouth won't close. Seeing this, a grain merchant came up to him and flattered him with a smile. It's all Brother Qian's good ideas. You're really smart. Several people in the house immediately praised each other, one by one, not flattering. Qianlin has been quietly staring at the newly opened rice shop in the city these days, but he didn't really care. But in the next 5 days, the amount of rice in this rice shop did not decrease, and the number of people who came to sell food every day was still full. When the news came into our ears, not only Qianlin, but also Zhang Wan's face became very ugly, and even more unbelievable. It's unbelievable that the people who came to Wujuan for so long could get so much rice in such a short time. The other grain merchants were all flustered. They all looked at Qianlin with no one else. Master Qian, what can we do? You should think of a way. If we go on like this, we will lose all our money this year. Qianlin's face is no better than theirs. His whole face is black and blue, and it's hard to hide his confusion. Thinking of this problem, he scolded impatiently. How do I know what to do? Shut up, I'm so tired. He was the leader of all the grain merchants. Now he had no idea. All of them were flustered and lamented. That's what you're scared of. Look at your virtues. Zhang Wan came in with a cold face and scolded him in a loud voice. It's only 5 days now. I'll send someone to keep watching. I'll wait a month later. You'll have a good time these days. I'll see you in a month. It's nothing for other people to be reprimanded face to face. It's just that Qianlin, who has been in a high position in Wu Prefecture for so many years, is reprimanded for the first time. He can't help feeling that he has no light on his face, and thinks that Zhang Wan is the one who instigated him to do so. He can't help feeling a little dissatisfied with Zhang Wan. In spite of this, he forced a smile on his face. What housekeeper Zhang said was that we were too anxious. As you said, we were waiting. But Zhang Wan didn't speak. He gave everyone a gloomy glance and finally fixed his eyes on Qianlin. Everyone else, get off, money is in charge. You stay, I have something to talk with you. The others looked at each other, and when they saw that the others got up, they got up and left one after another. When all the people stepped down, Zhang Wankai sat down on the top with a calm face, and his eyes fell on Qianlin. The people you sent to stare at these days haven't found any useful information. I don't think it's useful to send someone to stare at that little bitch's door. Qianlin thought he wanted to pick a bone in the egg. He was too big. He hesitated for a while and then said, What do you mean, housekeeper? What a rotten head. Zhang Wan's face was tinged with disdain, and his chin was full of stubble. He said, The people staring there don't need to withdraw. In addition, he quietly sent several people to dress up outside the city to search the little bitch's granary for me. I want to see if she has to sell so much food every day, but she can't transport it. Qianlin was embarrassed and frowned. But Wujuan is not a small place. It's so vast outside the city. Housekeeper, please let me send someone to look for it. Zhang Wan suddenly showed his impatience and said, Are you really stupid if you say you are stupid? Don't you send someone behind the grain delivery team? That would be much easier. However, We must pay attention, and be careful not to be noticed. After being scolded again and again, Qianlin's face darkened a little. He quickly lowered his head to cover it, and began to smile. What the housekeeper said is that it's all my thoughtlessness. I'm going to do it now. Then he would turn around and go down. He was really afraid that he would not be able to hold back his anger if he stayed down. Zhang Wan didn't stay here often in the past years, and they didn't have much to do with each other. But now Zhang Wang use his, even still in his head bossy, he is too illiterate. If it wasn't for the people behind him who hadn't given up on him, he would have driven him out long ago. Wait. Qianlin's mind just changed. Zhang Wan suddenly stopped him. His steps suddenly froze and he began to smile flatteringly. What's the matter with the housekeeper? With a smile, Zhang Wan took out a human skin mask as thin as cicada wings and shook it in front of Qianlin. This is my family skill. I preach in the imperial city. If it's inconvenient for your people to walk outside the city, I'll take this one. Qianlin's eyes brightened, and after staring at the man's mask for a long time, he was surprised and took things over. In this way, it's really like a fish in water. Thank you, housekeeper. Zhang Wang's eyes crossed a bit of satisfaction, patted the dust that didn't exist on his body, and then he stood up, ignored Qianlin and walked out. Although Qianlin was angry in his heart, he could only bear it. He obeyed Zhang Wang's words and sent someone to check it as soon as possible. However, he is not stupid, quietly left a heart, let people after exploring the information, only to inform him. How can you come here free? The grain shop is not very busy these days. The flowers on the street put down their celadone cups and looked up at the flowers and willows. The new Chinese style was a little uneasy. It's natural that you don't have to go to the Three Treasures Hall for everything. Hua Qianlu is not polite and sits down beside Hua Shen. He poured a cup of tea and then said, I just came to tell you that there are too many people in Wujuan. In addition, the rice from Yuzhou has a good taste, and the people who buy it are full, far beyond the budget. Today's grain can only last for more than a month. But there's not enough food. I'll take some money in advance and send someone in. After a pause, the flower's voice suddenly turned. However, how can you not understand such a simple truth? Why do you need to ask me? But what happened? That's a good guess. You're really smart. Flower Thousand Willow is still not serious ridicule praise too. This just continued. Is like this with our cooperation of that grain merchant somehow know this grain is transported to Yuzhou thing. Also know Wujuan pressure grain not to let go of thing. Now has begun to sit on the ground price. The delicate willow eyebrows of the flowers on the street frowned, and the water eyes were slightly coagulated. How could it be spread out across the world, and how could it be found out that it was leaked? It's really no wonder that it was leaked out by the victims who escaped from Wujuan before. In addition, the grain merchant quickly spread the news. When people in that place now hear that our people want to buy grain, they all have such an attitude. Flower Thousand Willow body toward after leaning on. Mao Guang seems to be loose without wave. The words have been serious up. The flowers on the street are delicate, and then they gather their eyes for a moment. Then they lift their eyes again. If they are like this, they will not buy their food for the time being. With a little doubt about Shanghua Qianliu's eyes, she continued. It's not a problem for us to stick to our grain for more than a month. But the grain merchants of Wujuan headed by Qianlin will stick to it for less than a month. Then will look like they have enough grain. They must sell grain at a low price. We're sending people to buy all their grain secretly. Okay, the people will not be crazy to buy, and the granary will not be so tight. Wonderful, really wonderful. Flower Willow eyes immediately and sincerely overflow with the color of appreciation. Lips raised. It's just a delaying tactic. But the flowers on the street frowned lightly, and there was a layer of thinking in their eyes. These food-producing areas can't be won from Qianlin and others in a day. The most effective way is to try to grow their own food, as well as other cereals and vegetables. Hua Qianlu gently touched the folding fan in his palm and stopped. His sword eyebrows frowned deeply. Not to mention that all the fields are in the hands of Qianlin and others. It's not easy for you to plant them just because of the landform of Yuzhou. Qianlin can plant them not only because of the special landform of Wujuan, but also because they have a set of planting techniques. These flowers also know, but what she thinks is not this. What she really thinks is to improve the soil quality of Yuzhou and try to grow high-yield rice. However, these are modern knowledge, which will not be understood. In a word, she just wants to try by herself. Why should she care about other people's eyes? Think of here, the flower water eye on the street schemes over a few minutes. If thoughtful, ponder for a moment, just weigh. I will try at that time. You only see the result is but success or failure, also a bit hard to say. Flower willows coagulate the calm face of the flowers on the street. The color of the eyes flashed away, and then they laughed as if nothing had happened. That's good little. He wanted to call Emo Shanghua's name, but the words didn't ring until he reached his lips. He didn't know her name, so he said with a smile, I only know that you are Princess Yu, married from the imperial city. I'm curious, what's your name? The implication is self-evident. The flower eyebrow heart shallow see you, in the heart think for a long time just weigh. My surname didn't have. As for the others, I didn't say a word. Seeing that Hua Qianlu wanted to ask again, he called Qinya and said, Qinya, go and tell Qinlin to prepare a carriage. Let's go out of the city while it's still early. With that, she did not forget to turn her head toward the flowers and willows and said with a smile, I'm still in a hurry to go out of the city and have a look at the soil. I have to go back to prepare first. Please help yourself. Hua Qianlu is also natural and unrestrained in the end. She opens the folding fan in her hand with a schwa sound, and her lips habitually smile a little wantonly. The beautiful girl in Qinghuan Pavilion is still waiting for me. I can't help myself here and go ahead. Say then no interest of slowly but come out. Qinlin soon got ready for the carriage. Mo Shenghua only took Qinlin and Qinya to the carriage and drove to the suburbs outside the city. Finally, they stopped at a place full of wasteland. But at this time, a young man rushed into the post house, looking for a circle, but he didn't see the stranger. His anxious eyes were red. He quickly pulled a guard and asked, This elder brother, princess, I'm the guard of the granary. I want to see the princess in an emergency. I hope elder brother can give me some advice. It happens that Hua Qianlu is not here. If the princess is no longer here, it will be troublesome. As soon as the bodyguard heard that there was something urgent, she did not dare to delay. She said, The princess went out early in the morning. She said that she would go outside the city. She only told me that she would look around about 30 miles outside the city, so that no one would follow her. 30 li, isn't it right next to the granary? The boy was relieved, released the guard and ran out of the city. Ignoring many bands in the city, he turned over and got on the horse and left in a hurry. The flowers on the street outside the city let Qinlin set the carriage aside, so he found a field and gave a glance. This place has been separated from the land of Qianlin and others, which is cultivated by the common people. However, most of these fields are abandoned, and only a small part of them are planted with some rice, but they are also harvested, leaving only some rice stumps. The rest of the vegetables are only some radish, sweet potato. The growth is not very lush. Most of the leaves are playing yenner. When you look at the land under your feet, it is extremely dry. The flowers on the street hold a little, and put it in the palm of your hand. If you look closely, the soil is also mixed with a small amount of sand. It's really not easy to grow food in such a bad soil environment. However, it was only the surface of the soil, and he had to take a closer look at the bottom. Thinking of this, Emo Shanghua doesn't hesitate. He calls Qinlin and Qinya to help him. He takes the shovel prepared in advance, selects the land where nothing has been planted, and starts digging. Unlike other lands, a little bit of soil is moist. Here, the soil is a little bit moist after digging a little bit deep. The amount of sand in the soil is also greatly reduced, but it is far from the fertile soil of the imperial city. The flowers and willow eyebrows on the street frown tightly, searching carefully for all the modern news about land improvement. Modern daping planting can put an end to the bad environment. It can also grow fresh fruits and vegetables in the cold and dry winter, as well as chemical fertilizer and soilless cultivation. Soilless cultivation technology content is too high. This era cannot be realized, then only chemical fertilizer and dapeng planting. So, the development of raw materials and chemical fertilizer of dapeng construction is the main problem at present. Just as he was pondering hard, the sound of horses' hooves and the boy's cry in a hurry came out. Princess, princess. Mo Shanghua looked back and saw a young man running with a horse. The waist tag of the barn man kept shaking with his pace. Princess, I have something urgent to see you. Then she stopped Qin Lin, who was about to be on guard. She got up and walked over. Are you the man who looks after the granary? Is there something wrong with the granary? The young man gasped for breath, but he didn't fully stretch out, so he said, the landlords of our temporary rented granary, listening to the slander of a demon, must bury his grandfather, that is the village head of the small village, in the granary. The old man is in a hurry to bury, and we have to move all the grain away. She also met the village head. She was healthy and ruddy a few days ago. How could she suddenly disappear? Most importantly, there were thousands of jin of grain in the village. How could she move away if she wanted? It seems that the truth behind this matter must not be as simple as the appearance. For today's sake, it is not to ask more about the situation but to rush. But for a moment, Mo Shanghua's mind had changed 1,000 times. She didn't ask much. She directly took the reins of the horse in his hand and turned over to the horse. I'll go to stabilize the scene first. You can catch up with me by carriage. Remember to take more people back. At the critical moment, naturally, no one will have any different opinions. A few people are busy and go to pull out the carriage as soon as possible. It's not very far away from the granary, but Mo Shanghua is not familiar with the situation here. It took him a while to get there. When she arrived, there were about 20 or 30 people in front of the granary yard. Most of them were adult men, with angry faces and various hoes, shovels and other tools in their hands. Mo Shanghua just got off his horse, but before he could squeeze into the crowd, I don't know what happened in the crowd. Everyone rushed into the crowd. In a short time, several people crowded out with cloth bags full of rice. Where are the ordinary people? They are a group of evil people with evil intentions. The flower on the street suddenly sank, but she didn't care about the horses. She threw the reins in her hand and ran towards the victims. When she was in the middle of several walks, she was in front of the people who rushed out of the crowd. They were all in a daze. She grasped the time, and her hands and steps were moving at the same time. In the middle of several ups and downs, she could not move. The rest of the squeeze out of a few people see this, are alone, Mo Shanghua cold eyes looking at them. Unexpectedly is to see them exchange a look, the eyes of a bit of killing. But it's only a moment, and the next moment, it's been spotted by the stranger. Mo Shanghua had time to think too much. Knowing that this was not the way, she rushed to the door and kicked the wooden door hard. The wooden door made a loud noise, and the whole thing trembled a few times, which immediately drew everyone's attention. Stop it all. Mo Shanghua stands at the door, her beautiful face is frozen down, like the air of eternal ice. And her words are like ice skates. The frozen people are afraid. The crowd stopped, and the flowers on the street walked in. Where they passed, the people subconsciously gave way. Mo Shanghua went inside and saw the situation inside. The granary is rented by the common people. There are 5 rooms in a row. After reconstruction, the walls between the 5 rooms are directly knocked down, and the rooms are connected with each other. All the other doors are sealed. Only an entrance is left in the middle. At this time, the entrance is in a mess, and a lot of rice and food are scattered on the ground. Several young men who guard the granary and the steward are killed by several big men hold it down. Don't move. Next to them stood a middle-aged man with a little bright clothes, a civilian woman, and a middle-aged man in a yellow Taoist robe. He had a healthy face, but his eyes were full of een. When the steward saw the flowers on the street, he was all relieved and quickly called, "Princess, you are here at last." The flowers on the street cast a slightly calm look at them, and then went to the middle-aged man, pointed to the steward and the boy, and said in a cold voice, "Are you going to let them go or do it myself?" Between speaking, her Mao Guang coldly swept a glance at those people who were settled down, and the threat in the Mao didn't hide. The man is the new village head and the owner of the house. The woman next to him is his wife. When the village head heard that Mo Shanghua was the princess and saw her means, he felt a little nervous. Before he opened his mouth, the woman gave a cold hum and said, "I don't care what princess you are." In short, they moved their hands first. Seeing this, the village head acquiesced and did not speak. The cold color in the flower eyes on the street is not reduced, and the sneer in the heart is endless. Right and wrong, black and white are not all based on your mouth. Besides, the crime of robbing food alone has been cut according to the law. Don't think that the law is not responsible for the public. It's not easy to use here. If you want to escape the crime, you'd better let my people go first. The village woman was at a loss, but the village head knew something and glared at the woman. Then she waved her hand to let the man in charge go. "Excuse me, princess. We are all people from remote areas. If we don't understand the rules, that's the only way to do it. Those who don't know should not be guilty, right? From driving people out, to plundering food, to really not knowing who is not guilty." The look in the flower eyes on the street is colder, and he stares at the Taoist. Just a few words from a Taoist, you will believe it. Are you not afraid that he is a fake Taoist, just to cheat money? She was so excited that the Taoist could not bear it. He raised his hand and made a Taoist ceremony. If you believe in goodness, you can doubt the poor way. But if you don't bury the old village head, you can't use this feng shui cave. If you bury him elsewhere, it will be a disaster. At that time, you can learn the innocence of the poor way. What do you mean, Taoist priest? We can't doubt you. Don't say that. When the village head saw this, his face was in a panic and he quickly took the Taoist priest to comfort him. The corner of the flower's lips on the street slightly raised a radiant of the cold tip, and slowly said, "Taoist priest's words and deeds are so rigorous, but they come from Maoshan, but they belong to the Qing generation?" The Taoist's eyes flitted over, a little flustered, but a moment later he came down again. "I believe in goodness, I have good eyesight, and I'm poor in the name of Qinjianzi." The corners of his lips were slightly curved, full of cold satire. But Taoist priest Maoshan, a generation of Taoists, has no clear generation at all. It's just my nonsense. The Taoist priest's face froze for a moment, and his face sank down. It's impossible for others to talk about the affairs of the poor Taoist school. Don't believe in good things without saying anything. The Taoist priest is wrong again. Mo Shanghua's eyebrows and eyes did not move, and his voice was very calm. Maoshan was defeated a few years ago. If you listen a little, you can know that you are not Taoist priest Maoshan at all. I think you are a fake Taoist who came to cheat money on purpose. The Taoist's face became black with the speed visible to the naked eye, and the confusion in his eyes also leaked out. Seeing the Taoist priest's face, the people around suddenly became suspicious, but the village head was puzzled. But aren't all the fake Taoists cheating? But the Taoist priest said, "I'm predestined with Taoism. I don't accept anything." The flower eyes on the street carefully analyzed the Taoist priest's face. Although he was flustered, he was slightly stiff. It seemed strange. Seeing that Mo Shanghua didn't speak, the Taoist calmed down and pointed the spearhead at her again. "Our Taoist sect has always been like this. If this good believer thinks that the poor guide is destined to be wrong, let's be frank. Why do you want to frame the poor?" His innocent words, but the expression on his face did not change. The flower on the street did not answer, just staring at him. Cutting water autumn pupils slightly narrowed. The Taoist priest was a little flustered when he saw him, but before he had time to say more, he suddenly raised his hand quickly and pulled off the human skin mask on his face. The Taoist only felt a chill on his face. As soon as he came back to himself, he saw that the flower in the street had pinched the skin mask as thin as cicada wings in his hand, and his eyes were as cold as ice. Why do Taoists go out in disguise like this? You can see that this is not a real Taoist, but a traitor in our house. He did this to destroy the granary. Mo Shanghua's eyes fell on the head of the village. In his voice he felt cold and explained in a slow voice. My granary sells grain at a low price in the city. When I rent it, I also sent you a lot of grain. I think you know that the whole grain merchants in Wujuan closed their shops a few days ago. I do this for the people." After a pause, her slender white fingertips pointed directly at Zhang Wan, who had no mask. He was colluding with the grain merchant. If he wanted to succeed, the grain merchant would continue to cultivate grain. I'm afraid that the whole people in Wujuan would starve to death. The whole yard fell into silence for a while. After a while, the village head suddenly realized that he patted his thigh and said, "Oh, look what I'm doing." He went to Mo Shanghua, took the woman and knelt down. "Princess, it was my fault that I was confused by this false Taoist priest before, so I would make this farce. If I had known that you were doing this for us, I would not have done it even if I died." While speaking, the rest of the villagers also showed a look of remorse and guilt. They hung their heads and didn't know how to apologize. They are not afraid of the identity of the flowers in the street, but are really ashamed of their mistakes. Mo Shanghua looked at a crowd of people, and then he felt that the depression in his heart had dissipated a lot. He came forward and helped the village head and his wife up. "It's not your fault. Please get up quickly." The village head was immediately flattered. He stepped back 2 steps, and his attitude was respectful. "Thank you, princess." On one side, Zhang Wan's eyes were full of panic, which had been replaced by gloom. His eyes were dark, and he was staring at the flowers on the street. "How did you find out?" His skill was handed over by the people of the imperial city. How could he be found so easily? "Your face is so stiff that you don't need to look at it." Mo Shanghua doesn't want to talk with him. He understates it. His eyes happened to sweep to Qin Lin. "Qinya has brought people over." They followed more than a dozen bodyguards behind them. As soon as they arrived, they were all ready to surround the courtyard temporarily. "Zhang Wan, you betrayed the Lord and left the palace. You also fought against me and the palace everywhere. No matter what, I'll forgive you. Come and take him down." Mo Shanghua Qingling's voice suddenly restored the cold meaning, and directly called people to come and surround him. In the room of lightning and flint, Zhang Wan didn't know where the speed came from. He pulled out the village head's wife in an instant. He took a dagger from his waist and put it across the neck of the woman. "The princess really despises me. I can't be so prepared to fight with you." As soon as the words came out, half of the villagers in the crowd pulled off their human skin masks and held a common man by themselves. They retreated to Zhang Wan. The villagers who ordered the acupoint when Mo Shanghua just came and were also held by them. It was too late for Mo Shanghua and the guards to react. Only the village head and a few villagers survived. "Qin Lin, Qinya, take the village head out first." The flower water on the street directly blocks in front of the village head. The light of the eyes tightly locks Zhang Wang, and the eyes coagulate a little to kill him. Qinya's face suddenly tightened, and her steps did not move at all. "Princess, this yard is full of his people. If we leave, what will you do?" Qinlin couldn't speak, but he was also sweating. He was gesticulating in his hands, which roughly means the same as Qinya. The head of the village and the rest of the villagers are pale, but their eyes are full of worry. They look at their families, but when they hear Qinya's words, they can't say what they want for help. "I'll be fine. Take them out quickly and protect them. Don't let the people in. Qinlin, Qinya, you don't know martial arts. It's useless to stay. Hurry up, don't delay." The eyebrows and eyes on the street were not moved, and the voice was slightly heavy. "This is the identity of the princess. Mo Shanghua seldom claims to be her own princess. Generally speaking, she is angry. Although Qinlin and Qinya are worried, they still have to take the bodyguards to protect the people and stay outside." Mo Shanghua looks at Zhang Wang coldly. The cold air in her eyes overflows and lingers all over her body. She looks at Zhang Wang and opens her mouth word by word. "I'm asking you again, do you want to let people go?" Zhang Wan had suffered a lot from her. He had already hated her. At this time he was not afraid at all. He sneered, "Don't give me this. It's not the palace. Do you think the identity of the princess can frighten people? It's so funny." After a pause, his voice turned abruptly, and he didn't smile. However, it's not easy to save these Dalits. You set fire to your granary immediately, and I'll let them go immediately. The flowers on the street were not surprised. They opened their lips without hesitation. I can't burn the granary, but you have to release people. I promise you that if you release people now, I will give you a way to live. While speaking, several silver needles have been clamped between the white and jade-like fingers. Zhang Wan's face was gloomy for a few seconds, but he didn't answer. However, the Buddha had already seen through her technique. With a sneer, he said, "Little bitch, you'd better put away the silver needle in your hand, or I'll kill them immediately." As the words fell, the sword in his hand drew closer to the woman's neck, and a tiny bloodstain suddenly appeared between her soft neck. The painful woman's face became more and more pale. She was frightened and afraid. She could not help crying and crying for help from the flower on the street. Mo Shanghua's heart sank, and a bit of surprise passed in her eyes, which was soon replaced by a bit of killing intention, but it was finally calm, and the silver needle in her hand was also collected by her. She raised her eyes to coagulate Zhang Wan, and her voice was calm and firm. "You don't dare. I said that if the people here are half bad, you can't escape." Zhang Wan's face suddenly turned green, so calm on the flowers, actually let his heart also can't help chilly up. After a while he gritted his teeth. "You said that. I'll let you have a look." With that he turned to look at a subordinate beside him and said in a cold voice, "I'll kill you now." The man answered. The dagger in his hand was about to fall, and the wooden door was suddenly knocked open by a pung. Then dozens of guards with knives rushed in and quickly surrounded Zhang Wang and others. Looking out along the wide-open wooden door, Yan Beiqing came in with no expression on his face. Looking at the cold eyes, he still had some insensible intention of killing. But when he saw the flowers in the street safe and sound, the cold color in his eyes slightly dispersed. He came quickly and put his hands on her shoulder. "How did you come here by yourself?" With this, his complexion has not been greatly relieved, and the worry at the bottom of his eyes has never been revealed. "It was so urgent that I had to come." Mo Shanghua lightly explained something, not surprised at all. He didn't have time to say more. The man who was ordered by Zhang Wan suddenly gave a dead hand. The young man he was holding suddenly screamed. His head tilted and lost his breath. The color of the flower eyes on the street is suddenly deep, and the palm is slightly tightened. Zhang Wan coagulated the subtle expression changes on the flower face on the street. Even when he laughed with pride. "How, little bitch, are you burning or not? It's not easy for me to decide whether or not to burn the granary. The Lord is here now. Only he can decide." Mo Shanghua quickly stabilized her mind and calmly said, "But the Lord is not easily threatened. If you want him to obey, you'd better let me exchange hostages. I don't want the people to suffer for me." Before Zhang Wan opened his mouth, Yan Beiqing's brow twisted fiercely, and his face was slightly cold. "No, you can't go. Yanbei City, this is not the time for indecision and love." Mo Shanghua turned his head and looked at him seriously. She is not worried about the people's life and death, but if these people die, they will bring a lot of trouble. Now she has many things to deal with, so she has no energy to deal with the extra trouble. In the bottom of Yanbei City's eyes, a sense of tyranny suddenly rose, and the temperature of the whole body kept falling. "I said no, I just can't. Their life is life, but your life is more important," said his slender big hand such as jade tightly clenched her soft small hand in the hand. The eye is full of the color of persistence. Zhang Wan was still suspicious. At this time, when he saw that Yan Beiqing was like this, he had a bit of bad taste in his heart. He laughed and said, "It's really interesting that the Lord and you are so affectionate. In that case, it's up to you to exchange. Otherwise we will be caught dead." Mo Shanghua's heart sank slightly, and he broke away from Mo Shanghua's hand, but he didn't release it immediately. Instead, he quietly and quickly wrote a few words in his palm, and then directly released his hand. He deliberately didn't use his skill, but went to Zhang Wan step by step as usual. Yan Beiqing looked down at his palm, and crossed the words that the flower had just written in his mind. "Trust me." A few simple words, but let him inexplicably stunned. For a long time, palms slowly tightened. In turn, the woman has been put back. Mo Shanghua has also been Zhang with the woman's general posture holding up, sharp blade straight across her neck. Zhang Wang looked at the flowers on the street with a proud face, and laughed wildly. Little bitch, you finally fell on my hand. Do you still remember how you used to treat me? You can wait and see. Today I will. Please come back one by one with that. He moved his sword across the neck of the flower on the street, and raised his hand to stroke over the delicate white cheek of the flower on the street. The vermilion lip petal of the flower on the street is suddenly gently hooked up and laughs. There is no color of fear on the face. Zhang Wan in the heart has no origin of a flustered. The action in the hand stopped down. Little slut, what are you laughing at? Mo Shanghua didn't answer. Her hand suddenly burst up. Her arm curled up and hit him heavily. The other hand quickly stabbed the silver needle into his wrist holding the sword. At the same time his arms, stomach and abdomen hurt. Zhang Wang let out a cry of pain, and his sword fell down and retreated. Mo Shanghua doesn't give him a chance to breathe. He rushes forward and cuts Zhang Wan back. He pinches 3 silver needles in his free hand and points to his neck. If he moves a little, he will die immediately. Of course I laugh at your stupidity. Mo Shanghua slowly answered his previous words. Mao Guang this just suddenly a Li, coldly sweep to Zhang Wang's remaining remnant party. Will you hold the people are released, otherwise I immediately want his life. While speaking, she did not hesitate to stab a few millimeters of silver needle into Zhang Wan's neck. Zhang Wan's facial expression was distorted, but she was stiff and didn't dare to even move. She only yelled with red eyes. You stupid people, what are you doing? Let people go now. Although he just said that the net was broken, he cherished his life in his heart. Yan Beiqing looked at the cold face of the flowers on the street, clenched the palm of his hand, then slowly released, turned to the people around him and said, Look at all the people, and don't let one go. Especially Zhang Wang. He used to keep him for some use, but now it seems that he doesn't have to. But Zhang Wang's subordinates hesitated for a moment, and they didn't get into the heart of Mo Shanghua. When Zhang Wang's neck was bleeding, they let the people go one after another. As soon as the people were let go, Yanbei City quickly ordered people to protect them. And at this time was a few. Zhang Wang, who was stabbed with a silver needle and was full of blood, suddenly crossed his eyes and looked at one of his subordinates. The subordinates suddenly seemed to be stimulated by something. Suddenly he burst into violence. He took a knife and fought with the bodyguards. The rest of the people saw this and fought with the bodyguards one after another. No one is listening to how Mo Shanghua threatens Zhang Wang. At this time, Zhang Wang is just like a madman, regardless of the silver needle on his neck, laughing wildly. No, the granary is on fire. I do not know who yelled. Mo Shanghua turned to the direction of the granary to see a look. Sure enough, it has begun to smoke. If the granary is destroyed, it will be troublesome. The pupil of the flower on the street suddenly shrinks, directly kicks Zhang Wang away, and flies to the granary. The food in the house is packed in huge wooden square barrels, which are close to the wall on both sides, leaving only a narrow passage in the middle. And the smoke was coming out of the room on the far left along the passage. When the flowers rushed in, a small part of the grain had been burned, but no arsonist was found. Mo Shanghua didn't have the heart to pay attention to so much. He quickly stepped in, and was about to turn back to try to find something to put out the fire. At the door of the second room behind him, he suddenly dropped a beam burning with a thick fire, slanting across the door, and directly gambled his life to death. The man who had run away before stood at the door, looking at the flowers with a sneer. The fire spread rapidly along the burning beam, and the second room was as flaming as the room where the flowers were staying. As soon as the pupil of the flower on the street shrinks, she wants to rush out, but she is blocked by the tongue of fire. All the windows in the house are sealed. This time, she really has no way out. Under the heavy smoke, her eyes were extremely dry. Tears almost fell down. Even if she covered her mouth and nose with her hands, she coughed constantly. Seeing this, The man in black was about to turn around and leave. Just as he had just turned around, he was suddenly shot by a dagger, and the blood in the cavity gushed out, and he fell down heavily. Under the smoke and fire, Mo Xianghua vaguely saw Yan Beiqing standing in front of the man in black. The blood on the dagger in his hand dropped drop by drop, while his face, which was not good-looking, had no expression. His eyes, which were as deep as the bottom of the spring, were filled with deep and incomparable anger. The back of his hand holding the dagger was full of veins. "Back up," he asked the stranger in a loud voice, and directly kicked up the body of the man in black, and directly used his body to smash open the burned crossbeam and other things falling from the roof. Then, seeing his body shape, he entered the room and held the flowers in his arms. Mo Xianghua was trapped in it for a long time, and her eyes were fixed on Yan Beiqing's face. While her heart was shaking, a warm current was flowing slowly from her heart, and she was beating quickly and quietly. No matter past or present, no one has ever been so kind to her, that is, to save her with all his life. She can clearly feel that Yan Beiqing holding her iron arm are slightly trembling. The bottom of the eyes, a few touch of love and heartache, are out of control. The smoke was too thick for the flowers to notice. At this time, the flame outside the house was burning again, and the way out was blocked again. However, Yan Beiqing held the Mo Xianghua tightly, kicked the body of the man in black who had been dyed with a little flame again, cleared out part of the road, and rushed out with Mo Xianghua in his arms. He managed to get to the door, but suddenly a beam with fire fell under his head. Yan Beiqing's eyes suddenly changed, and he threw the flowers directly out of the house, but he couldn't dodge. He was hit heavily on his shoulder, and spat out a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, he reacted quickly, and the dagger had blocked most of the strength of the beam. Mo Xianghua just stood firm, then saw the scene, pupil-sharp contraction, quickly came forward to Yan Beiqing help out, put out the tiny flame on his shoulder. The fight in the hospital is over, and the guards are carrying water to put out the fire. The people are grateful for the kindness of Mo Xianghua, and they all help together. Qinya, who has been hugged by Qin Lin and refuses to go in, runs to see the flowers coming out. She kneels down with red eyes. As for Zhang Wan, she doesn't know where to go. But Mo Xianghua didn't care about these things. He just grasped Yan Beiqing's sleeve tightly and looked at his pale face. His always calm face changed for the first time. "Quick, get the carriage ready first. I'll give it to you here. I'll go back to the post house with the Lord first." The wound on Yan Beiqing's shoulder was not too serious. It was just a big bruise and swollen. The more serious one was internal injury. Mo Xianghua's eyes looked at Mo Xianghua's blue and purple wound. After a long time, he forced himself not to think about it. Ingbai fingered again and again, gently lifted up the slightly cool ointment, and put it on for him. Yan Beiqing is still the same as in the past. He bares his teeth in pain and complains discontentedly. "I'm just like this for you. You are such a woman. It's really the most poisonous woman." As he said this, he coughed and looked pale. Mo Xianghua's eyes didn't show any annoyance. Instead, he quickly raised his hand and patted him on the chest. He wanted to help him to be smooth. He just put his palm on his chest, and then he was suddenly stunned, and the action in his hand stopped. How could she care so much about a person? Is it because he saved her that she would subconsciously do so? He was puzzled in his heart, but Yan Beiqing's lips began to remind him. "I've been hurt like this, but the princess still wants to be frivolous with me. It seems that I've really wronged you in the past." Mo Xianghua Ingrun white ears have no origin of a red, busy hand pulled back. "You nonsense, say so many words. It's not good for your internal injury. You'd better sit quietly, I'll heal for you." As he spoke, he was about to twist the ointment and continue to apply it. However, Mao Guang suddenly glanced at the back of Yan Beiqing's hand, which he had not yet had time to take back. Unexpectedly, there was a bright red burn. At a glance, he knew that he had just received it today and had not yet had time to bandage it. She directly put light action, his hand pulled over, drooping eyes carefully watching, willow eyebrow a little bit of frown up, eyes across a few unknown complex feelings, tightly pursed lips, don't know what to say. She silently took out a small bottle of ointment again, and carefully lifted it up and wiped it on the back of his hand. He suffered so many injuries for her, but he never said. In fact, his endurance is very strong. It's just a disguise. When Yan Beiqing looked down, he saw the long eyelashes of flowers on the street. They trembled from time to time. They scratched the heart like feathers. They itched, but they were reluctant to let go. When Mo Shanghua wrapped his palm with gauze layer upon layer, he couldn't help hooking his lips and joking. I didn't find that you were so considerate and gentle before. Is it painful? After hearing this, Mo Shanghua deliberately tightened the gauze. Seeing Yan Beiqing's grinning face, he realized that his heart was much more comfortable. He slightly raised his lips. Of course I love you. I just don't know if you like this strength. Of course I do. Yan Beiqing endured the pain and squeezed a smile from his teeth. Mo Shanghua felt her eyebrow beating. Sheng resisted the impulse to use force and wrapped the gauze on his hand. Then she went to continue to wrap up the wound on his shoulder, which made her face look at him. I want to ask you, why do you want to save me at all costs? Speaking, her eyes across a bit of their own have not been aware of the tension of the color. Fingers slightly forced to pinch his sleeve. Yan Beiqing didn't answer immediately, but raised his hand to touch his clean chin. After thinking for a long time, he said, probably because I like you better, and I don't want to lose my spouse in my early years. If not, what do you think is the reason? Well, in the deep of his eyes, like the clear moonlight, there was a faint and unclear color. Maybe, even he didn't know what kind of mood he was in. Mo Shanghua's eyes looked deep into his eyes. It seems that her eyes are so clear, but it almost makes her fall into it. She quickly takes back her eyes and turns away from Yan Beiqing. The green bottle is injured by falling. The purple bottle is scalding medicine. You can keep it for the next few days. I have something else to do. I won't stay much longer. As if she had been trampled on her tail, she left 2 bottles of medicine in a hurry and almost ran away. Yan Beiqing looks at Mo Shanghua's back in a hurry. Until her figure is gradually far away, he holds the 2 porcelain vases together in his palm. The ink in his eyes is gradually dense, which is hard to understand. On that day, all the people in the granary, except the ordinary people, were either dead or just arrested. No one could completely reveal what happened on that day. But at this time, Qianfu had already rushed to tell the truth. Master, Housekeeper Zhang took a group of people to destroy the grain in Princess Yu's granary yesterday, but they failed. Housekeeper Zhang has run away, but Princess Yu's grain has not been lost at all. If you look at the surplus grain, you can at least support it 3 months. What? Qianlin didn't even care about the blanket on his legs. He stood up and said, well, how can it be? It's only been a few days? Where on earth did she get so much food? After the shock, there was nothing but panic. There are still tens of thousands of jin of grain in his warehouse. If it goes on like this, won't she take all the profits? Anyway, Zhang Wang is running away now, so he doesn't have to listen to him. For today's sake, the most important thing is to reduce his loss. Listen, now if you open all the shops and get the best milled rice, the price will be the same as before. There is no need to go up. The boy answered, and went down in a hurry to prepare. Princess, the fire on the other side of the granary burned all night. Now it has been burned out, and there is no rice left. Qinya's eyes were red and swollen, and she began to worry. Qinlin is also a face of low, directly put on, a kneel on the ground. 2 hands flexible gesture to express his meaning. Is the slave do not work hard? Also asked the princess to punish the slave. This matter has nothing to do with my sister. Every one of them knows what the situation will be like when the granary is burned down. Therefore, it is also a special self-reproach. Rao is a stranger to spend early psychological preparation. Hear or feel a bit surprised and regret. After a while, she came forward and helped Qinlin up, looking calm. I won't blame anyone for this. I just blame me for being too careless and not knowing Zhang Wan's plot earlier. Mention Zhang Wang. Her Mao Guang but subconsciously dyed a few ice-cold color. Half-cent facial expression all have no. Qinlin and Qinya look at each other. They don't care about the flowers. They blame themselves more and more, but they still don't say much. By the way, Zhang Wanren, but he escaped? Mention this matter. Mo Shanghua can't help but think of Zhang Wang. Think of all kinds of yesterday, ice cold suddenly. Qinya looked at the side of Qin Lin, hesitated for a while, then stammered. That Zhang is very cunning, he took advantage of the chaos and escaped. It seems that he used his ability to change face again. Zhang Wan must hate her at this time. And now he has escaped, completely into the dark, and will become a disaster in the future. The flower eyes on the street were a little heavy. After a long time, he put the matter behind him and asked, "How much food is left in the small granary in the east of the village and in the store?" Qin Lin went to check it himself. He was most clear in his heart and told the truth. The general meaning was that all the grain could only last 5 days. The flowers on the street and the willow eyebrows were locked together, and the eyes were slightly worried. Just when she was worried, a few cool Ingren fingertips gently covered her frowning eyebrows, relaxed the wrinkles of her eyebrows, and said in a low voice, "You are not good looking at all." Mo Shanghua raised her eyes, but Yan Beiqing was frowning at her. The color of her eyes was clear, and the color of her eyes was subtle. He opened his robe and sat down beside the flower on the street. His fingertips still stayed between her eyebrows. "What? Are you worried about the granary?" Mo Shanghua turned her head unnaturally and avoided his hand. The waves in her eyes rose slightly, but she was soon pressed down again. The grain in the granary can support for 5 days, and the grain outside Yuzhou City has not been negotiated well. Even if the negotiation is completed, it is unlikely that the grain will be transported in a few days. At least, it will take 5 days. As for the purchase of grain from the city, most of them are in the hands of Qianlin, and most of the other grain merchants are on the same front with Qianlin, so it is impossible to negotiate. Think of here. She just was smooth eyebrow is light cu and rise. Yan Beiqing took the trouble to smooth her brow again. He took the flower's shoulder off and put her in his arms. "Although I'm not interested in these things, I know something about them. Why don't you go and solicit the small grain merchants in the city first, and see if you can collect them sporadically for a few days? It can only be so fast. The flower on the street is delicate and thin, and the chin is light. There is a touch of thoughtful color between the water eyes." Although Yan Beiqing didn't mean to be casual, it was a way. She could try it. Waiting for her to do the next thing in her heart. She felt that she was stopped by Yan Beiqing. Although there is no dishonest action, but since that day's event, Mo Shanghua and his distance is so close, he felt unnatural, quickly broke away from his arm, stood up. But don't want to this touch the wound of Yan Beiqing instead. Pain of he bared his teeth and grinned, for a long time just slow over, full face grievance of looking at her. "Princess, you incredibly don't love this king, so hard, really hurt this king." With that, he quickly covered his arm with a look of pain and grievance. His strange wronged eyes stare at the flower quilt on the street. There is a sense of guilt in his heart. He feels at a loss. I forgot for a moment. Are you okay? Let me see. There's a tear in the wound, said, the delicate white fingers on his belt. Want to help him untie clothes, check the wound. His fingertips just touched his belt, and he was immediately gripped by his slender big palm. The radiance of his lips was a bit evil. In public, does Princess Ai want to undress the king? Said he. Mao light meaning has pointed of looked at Qin Lin. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.